Hello, today I'm chatting with Sue from Singing Magpie Produce in South Australia. And Sue and her family run a 100-year-old orchard that harvests 20 to 30 tonne of quince a year and 20 to 30 tonnes of figs, which kind of blows my mind with my 3 small fig trees that I've got at home, that you could harvest that many. We crossed paths through Instagram, and it's been a dream of mine to visit her farm one day. But in the meantime, I thought it'd be great to catch up with her online and find a little bit more out about her business and how her farm operates. So yeah, welcome, Sue. Thanks for coming on.
Hello. Now, do you know where we actually crossed paths? We probably didn't meet, but I was at that very first weekend that Sophie did, in Orange.
Yes.
And you were one of the speakers. So that's when I first knew you, from that weekend. So that week, I have to say, I keep nagging Sophie to do something else like that again. I mean, she's obviously too busy, but
that was amazing.
There were so many people that weekend was so phenomenal. What was it called? I can't remember what it's called now.
I can't remember, but it was Sarah from Me and Ola was there as well. Is that
yes,
right?
That's right.
Yeah,
and it was just all these people I met that I then followed on Instagram, and that was kind of the start of. I mean, I was on Instagram, but that was the start of me actively using Instagram.
Yeah, that was a really, really good retreat.
That was amazing.
If I did meet you, it was probably I wouldn't remember because I was so nervous.
Yes,
leading up to speaking that I almost was blacking out. That's how nervous I was. I was like, I can't even speak. I almost was going to get in the car and just drive home. That's how nervous I was.
Anyway, it was such a fun weekend, and because it takes a fair bit for me to get to Orange, and I when the weekend was over, I was like, oh God, we need another. Like, I'm not ready to go home yet. Need another 2 days at least.
Yeah. I know, it would be good to. Well, maybe we should run a retreat like that near you.
Oh, I'd love to. Yes. I keep saying, because Jumbled does that.
One. Yes. Yeah.
But it's always like in March or April or May, and we are still in harvest. So unless it's something that's run in June or July, I pretty much can't do it.
Yeah.
So I'm always hanging out.
Which kind of makes sense.
Things in winter.
Yeah.
Anyway, so be it.
Yes. Yeah. So you were coming out the back of like one of your busiest times post Christmas. Is that fair to say? Is that your busiest time of the year?
Well, it's sort of two-pronged. So, yes, from a Singing Magpie point of view, we sell a lot of things leading into Christmas, gift boxes and all our fruit and whatever. But it's the end of our season in terms of dried fruit. And then, so now, like literally this week, we just started picking figs. So we're about to go into harvest, which is then another busy, slightly mental, crazy time. So... Yeah. So that is the thing about when you value add, not just grow fruit, but there's not really any off time. So if you're growing a commodity where you have a whole harvest, then you sell it, then you do have some time. I mean, there's probably orchard maintenance or whatever. It's not like you're not doing anything. But if you're then taking on the job of being the marketeer or the manufacturer, as I'm learning, you don't really have any off time. It's just on all the time.
Yeah, which is exactly why I wanted to chat to you. I think it's, for me, I connect with a lot of business owners who do sell direct to customer and do make a lot of their own stuff, whether they knit themselves or whether they hand make some level of it. But I think for you, what I find interesting is that you're growing it as well. So it's like adding another level of complexity to the whole pathway. And it's like, that's what
we have multiple teams. Yes. I mean, Mum and Dad are 79 and 78, and they still run the family orchard. So I'm their employee. I'm their lackey.
Yes.
And then I take over in terms of the marketing of the dried fruit. So they still sell fruit like to different customers for different things, but effectively they sell it to me for the value-added side, for the Singing Magpie side.
Yeah.
So we have on and off periods. So they're going into their particularly crazy period. But, there's always an interface when you've got a family business of who does what.
Yes, yeah. So there's the wholesale, which is what they take care of, and then you're doing the making.
Yeah, I mean, I effectively buy wholesale from them now, and I'm probably almost their biggest customer, actually, or up there with some of their other big customers. just given where the things are at in terms of food manufacturing at the moment. Yeah, and then there's the constant conversation about succession and transition.
Yes,
which is a very difficult conversation, and we don't need to go into. Not because there's any conflict.
Yes,
not from that perspective, just how you manage it.
Yeah.
And
do you
best
think
laid
you
plans.
have the capacity to take it on board? Because
so there's 3 siblings,
Yes.
and so between my brother and I, we will sort it out when the time is right. But it's the time is right that is the difficult.
Yes.
The difficult conversation.
Yeah, it is. Yes. Yeah.
Now that's my dog.
That's okay.
Let's hope that she doesn't. That's Groovy.
That's farm life, isn't it?
Continue to bark. Anyway, we'll see how we go.
Because of everything you do, I'd love to kind of explain and walk me through the journey where you kind of are from the beginning stages of thinking about moving back to the farm, because you've kind of had your own life beforehand.
And travel and
stuff, and then why you decided to move back to the farm.
Well, so I trained actually as a health professional and worked in health for like 20 years. So like a lot of country kids, when I did year 12, our aim was pretty much to leave the Riverland and get out. So a lot of my cohort from high school went to uni, and then whatever your chosen profession was. So I went into health prevention and worked in Sri Lanka, and then worked in South Australia, and then in Melbourne for a long time. I was the state manager for SunSmart in Melbourne, and for Cancer. I was the media spokesperson for Cancer Council Australia and Victoria for skin cancer. But then at 40, I had Frankie. So it was late, geriatric, as you get labelled.
Yes, I am
when
too. Yes,
going through the public service, public system, and I always had in my mind that I would come home. It just was when and how, and there's nothing like having a baby at 41 and trying to commute and have not very much family support in the city. Mark's family were sort of out of Melbourne and Torquay, and we just got to the point where it's like, this is too hard, and I always knew that I needed to come home. So we just packed up and came home. Literally, we had no jobs or anything. We just had enough of the commute mainly, and childcare, driving between childcare, and then I had to be on the freeway, and then trying to get to the Cancer Council, which was in a city, and we lived in a city, but it still was difficult. I don't know how people do it outside Melbourne, and it's a lot worse now. So that was back in, we moved home, or my home, in January of 2016, and we didn't really have we planned. We didn't have a job or anything. Yeah. We knew that we'd be able to work on the orchard, so that's what we did the first year. Yeah. And also I applied to do commercial cookery. There's a really good TAFE here in Berry that does a commercial, like a Cert 4 in cookery. So I kind of took the year off as such and did that, which was very luxurious, but it helped me work out what I wanted to do. And Mark worked on the farm. Yeah. And then that was enough. 1 year was enough for him to say that I'm not working on a farm in the future. Bless him. I mean, he's working with his in-laws and he's trying to work with me. I mean, that's a fair beat.
That's enough family. Yeah.
Yeah, and by then we had done a bit of business planning and I'd worked out that I wanted to do Sing Magpie, and Mark and I were originally going to do it together, and then very quickly we worked out that we couldn't work together.
Yes.
Which was probably the best decision ever for all of us. And we have different stories, different versions of how that played out.
I'm sure you do, yeah.
But anyway, as it worked out, he works off farm, and I decided my commercial cookery, as a result of my commercial cookery, I wasn't cut out to work in a restaurant or, be a chef or whatever. but I always wanted to use produce from our orchard. And at the time, Dad had said to me, look, we're so busy with the fresh figs and with manufacturing figs for other stuff, but we don't get time to do dried figs. And everyone asked for dried figs, and there was really not much of there's not much in terms of Australian dried figs. There still isn't.
Yes.
Not commercially, small orchards, but so that was kind of the lead in for me, really. I was already using social media to just tell a bit of a story about the orchard. I did Sophie's Thing that year. That might have been 2017 when I did Sophie's Thing. I can't remember.
Yeah,
but yeah,
right.
so it was basically a year after we moved from Melbourne back to the orchard here in South Australia that we started Singing Magpie.
Wow.
And my plan was, and I had never sold anything online, especially not online either, was just to sell 1 kilo packs of semi-sun-dried figs. And that's how we started. But I mean, that's not, we still do sell 1 kilo packs, but that's not really what our core business is now. Yeah. But yeah, it's a quick learning.
And with that commercial cookery course that you did, have you always had a really strong connection to food, and have you always so you've always been into cooking even when you're working?
Always been into cooking and always into growing veggies, and I've always had that kind of bent. And quite honestly, when I was in high school and then uni, I was good at what I did in maths and science, so that's where I pursued it academically, but probably always in my gut it was going to be about food.
Yeah, how interesting.
It's funny how you get I never got pushed by anyone. It was always me.
Yeah.
That I had to have a professional career in what I was good at academically, but actually couldn't see. Well, just I
feel like that often happens, doesn't it? Like in opposition, almost not in opposition, but like when you've grown up the way you have, it feels like you need to take that next step.
Well, the other side of it is, though, I'm very grateful that I left the Riverland, because you leave, I lived in Sri Lanka for 2 years. I worked for the Cancer Council for 8 years. I got a lot of media training, a lot of project management training, all of that stuff that I wouldn't have got if I stayed here.
Yes.
And then when we came back to the Riverland, I come back with a completely different view of this area than if you stayed here.
Yes. So really fresh and a new approach.
Yeah, so I wouldn't change anything at all. But I always had an inkling, always had a feeling that I would be in food at some point.
Yeah.
And things like growing fruit and veggies and stuff. I mean, I've had a veggie garden. I remember my first veggie garden, I was probably about 5. I remember it with Dad, when we first planted some tomatoes or something out the back.
Yeah.
So, it is funny how you kind of deny some of that gut feeling, but I wouldn't have had the breadth of experience that I brought back to Singing Magpie if I didn't.
Yes.
So there's no regrets there.
Yeah.
Not by any means.
Yeah. That's fascinating. Yeah. And like as far as your everyday tasks go, I think
that's crazy.
Yeah, I'm really struck by like how you manage to do all the things. Like, do you as far as like for other business owners goes, just understanding about how you get stuff done, like when you are growing stuff and then you're drying things and you're packaging and then you're having like chocolate days. Like, do you kind of batch those? Like, how do you can you give me like a rundown of like, your average few days or like week,
so it changes. So right now we're in harvest. So right now we're actually drying fruit. We just started. So I have a team right now I have 2 other people that work for me for Singing Magpie, and I really try to let them do most of the hands-on work, and that is because, although it doesn't always work, especially not in harvest, but if I end up doing too much of the hands-on, what I mean by like that might be the packing, or I don't generally do the chocolate tempering anymore, all the business administration gets left behind, and then if that gets left behind, then we're just behind all the time. So, and same with the selling. So I do all the selling and marketing. So if I'm packing orders, I can't be selling. Yes. And if I'm not selling, there is no orders. So, we've literally just started back for the year. So the last few days have been frenetic. and we've had a lot of orders that have come in while we were shut. So yes, it's been pretty hands-on this week, but I've got to pull back, and I think that's such a big learning for small business owners, is that at some point you've got to you can't be in the business, you've got to be looking outside at the business.
Agree.
But it's very hard to manage that, like if you don't have enough staff. So I did have 3 people working for me, and then someone left to go and do her career, basically.
Yes.
And you also have to manage salaries. Like salaries are expensive, but so there's a juggle.
Yeah.
And
what point did you go from doing kind of everything yourself? Yeah. To like,
well,
was that scary?
So that is an interesting story. So because I had breast cancer in 2020, and I was pretty much doing everything myself with my mum before that, and then of course I had breast cancer. So I had to, I couldn't do everything myself. Yeah. So it was actually
hand was forced.
My hand was forced.
Yeah.
So I had started to employ someone just to help with gift boxes, because it was leading into Christmas, and then it was about, I got diagnosed with breast cancer probably in November. So that's our peak time, man. We had stacks of orders, and I bloody have breast cancer. I had to start chemo the week after, and it was 2020. So this is COVID. So I remember going to I was diagnosed, and then the oncologist said, right, you can start tomorrow. And then that night, the South Australian government says there's a curfew. It wasn't like Victoria, but we had 6 hours to get back to wherever our place of where we're going to stay for the next 6 days. And I said, I can't start chemo tomorrow because the curfew's been called. I have to get back to the Riverland. So the Riverland's 3 hours from Adelaide, and chemo was in Adelaide. So, can I start in 6 days, basically? And that's what happened. I had to come home because, I couldn't just leave my family for 6 days. Completely unplanned. So it was a very unique time to have cancer. What can I say?
My God.
But actually it was okay. I mean, you're in a bit of a petri dish anyway.
Yeah.
So we commuted for 5 months to have chemo in Adelaide. At that stage, I couldn't have it here in Riverland. It has changed a little bit since, but so we went weekly, and then my hand was forced. I had to put someone on, and we were ready to have someone on. So thankfully, Nay could help out, and she stayed pretty much. I mean, she runs her own honey business, so she stayed with me until my active treatment finished, which was about a year later. Actually, I think she had already started sorry, I probably got that wrong. I think she had already started on gift boxes, but she took on a more active role, and then we put someone else on as well, Tina, who still works with us. So cancer taught me that, you can't do everything yourself, and the business was probably ready for me to stop being so hands-on.
Yes.
And I was getting a bit slow anyway, really.
Yeah.
I mean, the girls are much quicker at packing than me.
Yeah.
And, my role is to come up with the creative ideas, and to, obviously manage the cash flow, and manage where we're going to go each quarter. And so I just feel like you have to be able to step back out, but it's sometimes very difficult. And if you can't get staff, it's also very difficult.
Exactly. So as far as breaking up the year goes, you have like 2 distinct harvest times for 2 different?
They kind of flow into each other. So figs normally start in about December. You have a bit of a flush. Now this last December just gone, we had very late frosts in October, and so all of our early figs were burnt off. So we didn't have an early crop, which wasn't it sounds awful, it wasn't a total disaster. There's just so many things overlaying. We have fruit fly. We're a fruit fly free zone in the Riverland, and now we have multiple outbreaks. So we can't sell fresh fruit. There's very strict restrictions. So that early crop we used to sell straight into restaurants because they're big. Everyone wants figs for Christmas, but we can't do that anymore. Fruit's not allowed to leave the Riverland.
Wow.
So it's extremely restrictive for farmers. So value adding really, I mean, we're already doing that by sun drying and a few other things, but that's really the only option with things like figs because they're not very robust.
Yes.
Or you spray them, and we don't spray anything. We refuse to spray, and the spray that is used for fruit fly, quite frankly, it's questionable in my mind. I'm not saying you don't have to manage fruit fly.
Yes,
you absolutely have to manage fruit fly.
But there are alternatives.
Yeah. Well, it's just got to ask hard questions of how the process is. Anyway, so long story short, we normally have an early crop in December. We didn't this year. And then we got black figs and white figs. They come so there's an early crop of black, and then it goes into white, and then the blacks come in. So usually by the end of January, we are harvesting both. Now that's a little bit early. We're harvesting now, so we're a couple of weeks early. And then that folds into, then we usually have grapes. So we did pull most of our grapes out a couple of years ago because there's no, the grape industry is in really devastating status in Australia right now. So most of the grapes we've pulled out, and then we have pecans. Then we have quinces. So they come in pretty much at the end of figs. And then we have pecans. To be honest, by the time we get to the pecans, we only have 50 trees. We haven't picked them the last couple of years because we've just been so busy and so worn out. So you get to June, basically, and then harvest is officially over.
Okay.
Yep. Maybe May. Just depends on the season. Like this season could be quite quick for figs this year. Yep. And the quinces are a lot more robust. They can hang on the trees, they can sit in the core room, and they just get better and better. Whereas the figs, once they're picked,
they're done. Yes.
You've got to do something with them. Yeah. They don't ripen once you pick, they just get softer. So
once that middle of the year happens, what do you kind of have that some downtime, or that you kind of go into planning for and marketing?
No, so the thing is, so Mum and Dad go into planning.
Yes.
And clean up, but I'm in full marketing mode.
Yes.
So
okay.
we don't do Valentine. So it's campaign by campaign. So we don't do Valentine's Day really because we're too busy. And of whatever you believe about Valentine's Day.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's very chocolate oriented, and it's very hot here to do chocolate in February. So we don't generally have much of an emphasis. So our first campaign will be Easter, and then Mother's Day, and they're usually very busy. And then we have a bit of a break. The thing is, you don't have a break. You've got to keep selling. If you don't sell, you don't have any money.
Yes,
basically.
Yeah.
So we'll have a monthly campaign basically, but the next big one will be Father's Day, and then Christmas creeps. Like the Christmas, it just gets earlier and earlier each year. So to be honest, we will start Christmas cakes in July and pre-sell them probably in August, and we'll make them all. So this year we started out, we were just going to do 30 Christmas cakes, and we ended up making 100, and we sold them in about 2 days. So this year we will do Christmas cakes early, and then they sit for a few months to get better and better, and then we dispatch, from November to December, depending on what people want. So, part of my job, Christmas has become such a big thing in terms of gifting. So people pre-order from September onwards for Christmas, and, because we're at the end of our season, we run out, and it's not a marketing ploy. We're just at the end of our dried fruit season, so we actually don't have any fruit left. So people that have followed me for a few years and that are on our mailing list realise when I say we're about to run out, we are actually about to run out. So
it's not a sales pitch. Yeah,
it's not just a ploy. So I've got lots of customers who order very early, which I'm very grateful for, because that gives us the plan, time to plan and pack and whatever. So So there's the marketing side or the value-added side that is never off really, except for the last 3 weeks. So we'll run out by maybe the 10th of December and then turn off.
Yes.
Turn off until we were going to try and turn off until the 13th of January, but it didn't quite work. Anyway, we turned off for about 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
So that was our holidays, and then now we're back on.
Yes. So as far as your role goes, because you've got people doing, obviously you need to step in when you need to step in, but you've got people helping with packaging, and then the making of some of the stuff. So and then you're doing the marketing, but sometimes you dip your toes in all those roles. And also, are you also helping out as far as the orchard goes as well?
First couple of months, it'll be focus on harvest, our own harvest.
Yeah.
And then just ramping up the sales.
Yeah.
We don't do chocolate probably till February, end of February. In the meantime, I'm negotiating with other growers for the fruit that we also buy. So we produce black and white figs, the quinces, and some citrus. I buy fresh mango and a few other fruits that we sun dry, and then I buy from other growers locally peaches, pears, apricots, jujubes, maybe some plums sometime, maybe nectarines, for our gift boxes. So it's just negotiating that. So it's a mad negotiation right now, to be honest, just to try and find enough fruit.
Yes.
And like for example, apricots haven't had a great season here. It's the early apricots. It was a really late rain, really late, and lots of people lost their apricots. So, you always have those seasonal fluctuations where the fruit it's different each year. And some fruits are a little bit more biannual than others. So you might have a big crop of nectarines one year and not much the next year.
Yeah. So
that's my job, is to manage all of that, and that's particularly right now.
Yes.
So I've got wholesale orders who they want apricots, and I'm like, well, we're at the end of the season from last year, and I'm still trying to find the best apricots I can for this year. Yes. So our point of difference, we're not just a wholesaler, is I work with people that I try and find the best apricots I can, if it's apricots, for example.
Yeah.
And then we resort it.
Yes.
So
so you've got some really strong connections with all the farmers.
And it's region. All Riverland fruit. I've resisted to go beyond the Riverland because our story is about the Riverland. As things get a little bit tighter, I might have to look at fruit from other regions, but for now it's all Riverland, and that's our story.
Yes. Yeah.
And really I want to be able to profile there's so much unique produce that's grown in the Riverland. So part of my job is to work out, all right, so we can get fresh mangoes, so we sun-dry we dehydrate mangoes, which is very labour-intensive and quite expensive. But there's a bit of waste with, stuff that we can't sun-dry. So I'm thinking already, all right, what are the other products we can make with that mango, because people love mango, and I tell you, the mangoes from the Riverland are phenomenal. I've not had anything like
I can't even when picture I was in Sri Lanka. In South Australia.
I know, because
I'm from North Queensland, so
growing here.
Yeah,
but they do a great job, and it's just phenomenal fruit. I have not experienced it before.
Wow. What variety of mango are they?
They've got a couple. Okay. So Kensington Pride, and then there's another one, I just don't remember the name. They might have 3 actually, I don't know, but I just remember Kensington Pride. But they just I've never had. Yeah, maybe it's just because I get them so fresh.
Yes. Yeah.
And I haven't. Although in Sri Lanka we obviously had fresh mango, but maybe I just haven't had it as fresh in other parts of Australia. But
so I guess the key role of your job now is that you're like that adaptability,
product development.
Yeah, you're looking at
stuff procurement. So one, at procuring our own fruit.
Yes.
Procuring other people's fruit, and then looking at unique, innovative products that we can make. They might just be for us online, or they might be for wholesale. So that, I suppose, is another point of. That's something that small business owners need to work out, is you don't need to wholesale everything. And some things it's just not viable to on-sell to someone else. Obviously our own produce we can wholesale because we've got enough of it.
Yes.
But, I might do a small batch of mango chutney this year, mango and fig chutney, or mango and Kwangdong. I'm never going to wholesale that.
Yes.
So
yeah.
It's just understanding the difference between online, and also we sell a lot wholesale and then a lot online.
Okay. Yeah.
And online is core to our business.
Yes. Okay.
And so if people haven't got a mailing list, then they are crazy.
Yes.
Because there's so many people out there that want to know about what you do and want to buy direct from a farmer. You just got to cultivate that relationship.
Yes, yeah.
And online's the way to do it. I mean, we send everything with Australia Post. We don't have Sendle or anything else here. Nothing else works. No one else is committed to supporting rural small businesses, to be honest, more than Australia Post. Is for all their faults. They do a phenomenal. They're phenomenal.
That's great to hear. Yeah, without it, you just wouldn't have a business.
Oh, we wouldn't be viable.
Yeah.
And you need to have a business relationship with it. It's not just posting from the front desk and whatever. You get a business account, but your local post office is key. Even though they don't necessarily manage some of the stuff. They might not be your account manager, but your local post office is core.
Yes, build that alliance.
But I haven't found any other couriers or anything that can match up to Australia Post in terms of price. Now, someone might be able to tell me differently, but that's just where we are. Like, we're 3 hours northeast of Adelaide, and we're 7 hours northwest of Melbourne. Oh, 8 hours northwest of Melbourne. So we're
we're in a similar position. I think we're 3 hours from Canberra.
If you're closer to a bigger city, then it's different.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Well, that segues onto my next question I have is that, like, I noticed that, like, when you look at your website and your branding and your social media, and your email, like I'm on your emailing list as well, that you do such an incredible job of sort of like stitching that all together and really putting a strong.
All a fluke.
Oh, well, I don't know whether it is. So
it's Oh, I mean, there is planning. Don't get me wrong. My goodness.
Yeah, like, I don't know. It's just, I think, like, I've done stories on lots of growers and farmers over the years because it's an interest of mine. And, like, I think there's definitely a focus on people being, like, of producing a really beautiful product. Like, they grow amazing radishes, or they grow,
but they don't focus on marketing.
Yeah, and then that's where the thing.
I totally.
And it's like a real, like, hiccup point, and it's like, well, people should just buy it because it's great, and it's like, well, unfortunately, that's not how it actually works.
No, it's not enough.
And so that's what I noticed that you do well.
So I often say to people around here, you're quite happy to spend $100,000 on a tractor,
exactly,
but you won't spend $5,000 on your logo.
Yes,
like, it's just that it's a completely different mindset, and so many people I know they plant a crop, and then they go, oh, we'll work out what we're going to do with it later. And I'm like, no, you need to work your product out before you plant that crop, and how are you actually going to sell it, and where are you going to sell it? You're not just going to sell a bulk to the fresh market or whatever, or you could.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's quite restrictive around here for us because of fruit fly at the moment. But so where's your story? And see logos done with clip art or whatever. It's like, that's just not going to work anymore.
Yeah.
And you expect that you're going to get a sale, you're going to make all this money on online sales. You've got to build that. It takes years to build your community.
Yeah.
And you have to be there. It has to be a two-way communication. You can't just post things on Instagram or on Facebook or wherever you post, TikTok, whatever, and not respond to people. It's social media for a reason. You actually have to be social.
Yeah. which you're incredibly good at, like that. I feel like you get a real insight into.
The thing is, I like doing. That's my interest. So to my advantage, and then also because Mum and Dad manage, and my brother sort of manage predominantly the harvest side. Like, I'll step in. Like right now, there's a shortage of pickers and whatever, so we're trying to sort that And I'll manage. I might help out with some sales or sorting on, negotiating a price or whatever. But I'm not going to drive the tractor. I can't do all of it. So you do need different teams.
Yeah.
And so that's what people need to think about is that if they aren't any good at taking a photo, even on I only use my phone. I try to use the camera, but I don't have time to learn properly. Even though I'm interested in it.
Yes.
You have to be able to either pay for someone to do photos for you, which I do that periodically, but I can't do that every campaign. I can't do a photo shoot. I just don't have time.
Yes.
Or I don't have money.
Yes.
So you have to learn to be able to do it yourself.
Yeah.
If that's part of your plan is to sell online.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
as far as like marketing your products go, like I'd love for other people in your position, even if they don't necessarily grow the product, but they make the product and sell it direct to the consumer, like with social media and email marketing, and you do a lot of collaborations as well. Are there any things that kind of stand out for you as far as like really moving the needle with sales and connecting to your audience? Any kind of advice that you'd like to give?
Look, it is. I suppose the first thing is say it doesn't happen instantly. You absolutely need to have an email list.
Yes.
So, so what happens is after a few years, so you don't make a profit for a few years, and then you might be lucky to break even or whatever, and then the tax man finds you, and then it's difficult. But all that aside, my core customers or my core, I sort of see them as family, is that mailing list. So I base everything around this is from the online sales. It's different with the wholesale. But I base everything around those core customers getting access first. They're the first to know. They'll be the only one who gets a discount. I rarely put discounts online. You've got to be on that mailing list. Those discounts might be short-lived. It might only be like 5 days to buy something or whatever. But it's those repeat customers. They're the people that keep you going. And also online means that you've got cash flow.
Yes.
Because in the meantime, you've got your wholesale sales and they might pay in 14 days or 30 days, whatever it might be. But you still need to have cash flow, so that your online business is crucial for that.
Yes. Yep.
So you have to have an email mailing list.
Yeah.
And you have to have I think you have to have a proper email that has your brand, like not just a Gmail address. Like you need to go all out. You have a business name, you have a proper logo. But that doesn't mean that you have to my logo and my colours and all that sort of stuff, I did that through 99 Designs because I couldn't afford a marketing company.
Yes.
But that designer that did our logo, he still does our labels now. Wow. So you can still have, people will say 99 Design. There's lots of them now, but when I started, that was the biggest one. And people can bitch about it and say, oh, well, you're just ripping them off. But the person I work with, he's from Italy, and I didn't know that he won the competition to do my logo, so I didn't really know where he's from. But he prefers it to be through 99 Designs because it's an interface for him to get paid and whatever. I'm sure, but that's his preference and we've worked together for 6 years now.
That's amazing.
So you don't have to get it all right at once either, but you do have to work towards. So, have an email with your business name in it. Don't pay for that stuff. That you just need to spend as much as you're going to spend on your equipment on marketing.
Yes, I agree. And how do you?
And you can't do it all at once.
How do
you just do what you can afford.
How do you get people to sign up to your email list? Is there?
There's a couple of things. So they can sign up through our website. They can sign up through Instagram. I do ads now on Facebook and through Meta, so they can sign up through there. And then if anyone emails me directly, for example, and they want to be on a waiting list, I always send them the link. We were using MailChimp for many years, and then that has got a bit outdated, so we changed to Klaviyo last year. Is that how you say it? Klaviyo last year.
I've never heard of that one. Yeah.
Klavio, I think.
Okay.
And they're quite good. They're much better. I mean, people will argue there's better ones than them now, but I mean,
I think it's a
there's only so many times in the day to search this out.
Absolutely.
But they have good flows, and
Okay.
Mailchimp does have flows, but it was hard to work it out, and Clio's easier to understand, so I just swapped to them. And things like email flows are actually quite important for ongoing. It's not just about new customers, but
looking
your ongoing
after.
customers.
Yes. Yeah.
So email lists for sure, good branding, consistent branding. You don't have to have it all fancy though, but you do need to look like you've spent some money on it.
Can be trusted, I guess, in a way that you're actually like a business that exists. Yeah.
Totally. Yeah, that you're actually a business that is going to stick around and not, because there's so many scams now. People are really wary of that, and fair enough. And that you're going to provide a good customer service. Yeah. So, and I generally do all the customer service, which is probably getting harder and harder, but I think it's such a point of difference is that, if there's a faulty product if someone, like if a jar breaks when it gets sent or whatever, that we reply to the person, that we reply in a timely manner, even if you're flat out, and mostly being transparent to say, look, we're flat out at the moment. I don't have any more stock. I can even give you a credit or refund, or we'll send you. I just feel like good customer service gets a little bit lost.
Absolutely.
And it's so, so important, because the people who buy from me are buying from me because they want to support me.
Yes.
Like our family business. They could get cheaper figs and apricots from the supermarket. They won't be Australian though, but or they could, if it was about they really want to support local farmers, and so you have to respect that and just be nice.
Yes.
And I feel like most of my customers are very nice to me. I don't like, it's a two-way. People have to be nice to you as well, but I don't see much rudeness in terms of when people contact me. They're generally asking questions, and they might get me when I'm flat out, and I can't reply very with a very long response. But well, I think you keep those customers. If you are kind to them, they follow you through thick and thin, I find.
Well, I think that's the important thread through everything that you do, is that they are buying from a human being. And so, like, things may not be perfect, something might break, and your reply might be a bit quick, but you being honest, genuine, and like really human. And I feel like that's super lacking.
Absolutely.
In that automated AI responses where it's like, you know that there's no one actually there, and you just feel so let down. Like when you get those, you didn't even read my email. It's just an automatic response. Can you just reply to me?
We just I do use AI to help me write newsletters.
Me too.
But that's really as an editor, or when my brain is dead and I have no ideas how to
write. Hear you.
Put the words together. AI is fantastic for that. But we don't have AI responding to anything, automated, whatever. No. And we're not at that point, and I don't know that we ever would be at that point, because I just feel like, that you completely miss the boat. And you can tell, like on social media, I can see when small businesses, they might have gone to an agency, and I understand why they have to, because they just can't manage it. But you can see straight away if they don't respond straight away, like if the agency only responds through the week, you can see it in their profile.
It's a bit more removed. Yeah.
And I know some people, it's just, if it's not their bent, then you do need to subcontract out. But I feel like you kind of have to supplement it. If you're going to go with an agency, I reckon you still need to be there.
Yeah.
If you're a small business, people want you. They want to be part of your story, or to understand your story. So you've got to turn up, even if you get maybe all the legwork done by someone else.
Yes. Yeah. And onto that, like as far as sharing like you and your story and stuff goes, like there's so many women in business that I know that I have the conversation with where they just feel so like scared about showing up, like how they look and how their voice sounds and stuff. Like, how do you kind of navigate that, because you kind of talk on camera?
Well, look at me. I mean, sorry, I'm flicking my hair. And honey, you know what's happening this morning. I've had the plumber here since 6:30.
I know.
And because we had no water and whatever.
How do you let that go? How do you, like, because for so many people, like I feel the same way. I feel sometimes nervous about showing up, but I kind of work through it, but just going, oh, well, this is just how I am.
Yeah.
Right
And
now.
you know what? People really like you showing up, even when if I look at some of the reels that I've done, where quite literally I'm just like, I don't know, an idea comes into my head and I'm like, I'm just going to do that.
Yes.
And not overthink it. And they end up being the best.
Yes.
They really like it. The response can be phenomenal. So, I mean, I don't think you can ramble on too much. Like, I think you need to keep it tight. So, use the rules. I mean, Meta says whatever it is, 15 seconds, 17 seconds or whatever it is. Try and keep it tight. But, and I don't really do lives, but that's mainly because our internet isn't always reliable and it might cut out or pixelated, whatever. But I think it is about being real. And also, to be honest, I'm 54 and maybe I feel less pressure than if I was 30.
Yeah.
It is what it is, man. Life's too short. I've had breast cancer and you know what?
Yeah.
Life is a privilege. So either if you don't like what you see, then bad. Maybe I'm not the right account to be on.
No, I love it. I love it.
I can't take that bullshit sometimes.
Yeah. No, it's good. No, it's true.
Really. Yeah. But as you can tell, I like talking.
Yes.
So,
you are a good talker.
I have to get beyond myself, and I've got a 12-year-old daughter who does filter me sometime and say, "Mum, mate, I don't think you should do it like that." And whatever,
it's just something that I advocate for a lot. Like that people don't want to sort of show up. And I'm like, people. Yeah,
like people buy more.
From
like
people.
I probably don't show up enough.
Yeah.
Like even last night, I filmed something. And I was like, I really should be in the camera, but I just because we had no water.
Yes.
I mean, it's just like I can't do this right now. I was like, I probably should film that with my face, but I can't do that today. But people just appreciate it.
Yes. I think it's about showing up every day with your face. It's just, I think, every now and then just knowing who that person's talking to. I think is that building that connection.
It's funny, if I look back on my Instagram feed, the person who used to show up early in was my daughter, really, because she was like 4-year-old or whatever. And not that I necessarily would film her face much, but it was more about her. And then as she's got older, she's less interested in that, so that's fair enough.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, actually, this is my business. It should be me that's showing up anyway.
So it was like a gentle in. Yeah.
Yeah. So you just have to get used to it. And there's things like I don't really use TikTok. And TikTok Shops is meant to be coming to Australia, and I haven't caught up, and I don't know if it's going to happen or whatever. Sure. I probably should be on TikTok, but there's only so much you can do.
Absolutely.
So.
And have you found any kind of collaborations have worked well for you with any other businesses or?
Well, I mean, the thing from a business point of view, there's a few things. If you're growing produce, the things I think you need to do is enter competitions, so enter awards.
Yes.
So we entered Sydney Fine Foods really early on, and that's been phenomenal for us for traction in New South Wales in particular, but that then leads into work with chefs. So a lot of collaborations with chefs and then with other brands. So collaborations small and big. They can be something really little, or they could be something ongoing. I just think don't underestimate that joint value, and it doesn't matter. They might have lots of followers or they might have none.
Yes.
If it works for your business, I think you should do it.
Yeah.
But it's got to be meaningful. Like I have people with clothing brands contact me all the time to say, "Oh, we do this." I'm like, "Look, what's the connection?" Like,
yes, yeah.
Am I going to wear a hot bikini while I make like sticky quince figs or something? Do you know what I mean? Like, some things are silly, but it has to be a logical collaboration. But so one that's coming up for us is we make a fig and rose tea with our fig leaf and rose tea. And I saw through Buy from the Bush at Christmas time, there's Lainey who makes these tea cozies. So I just contacted her and said, look, we haven't done our fig leaf and rose tea we didn't do it last year, but I would like to do some again this year. So she's made us, a really beautiful, unique, hand-knitted one tea cozy that we will use for Mother's Day. So I haven't quite worked out how that will be, or we'll reveal that as it comes. But
yes, yeah,
it's just such a lovely, and it's so beautiful, the tea cozy, so unique. And then someone else blends our tea for us. So between the three businesses, it's just such a lovely story of predominantly women working together.
And I think that energy exchange that goes on is so beautiful. Like
it's just so nice.
Yeah.
And also, who doesn't want a beautiful tea cozy? Sorry, even though I'm a coffee drinker, I've got a few tea cozies.
I do like tea cozies as well.
It's so hard to make, literally with Lainey over Christmas, we were just toing a frame and going, look, it's fig leaf and rose, and she kind of drew a sketch, and then suddenly she sends me a photo last week. I didn't know it was going to be ready so early, and I'm like, oh wow, that's amazing. And then she sends it in person. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's so intricate. So for that person who gets that tea cozy, one of a kind, it's just
so special.
Phenomenal.
Yeah.
So and then there's other things, like a couple of years ago we did a collaboration with Tokyo Lamington, and they did a Christmas Lamington. That was much, but that was quite impromptu as well. But it was much bigger.
Yes.
But big and small.
Yeah.
Whatever, and things can happen really quickly, or they can take a long time to prep. I feel like that you should go with your gut feeling on those kind of things. If you think, oh, this is feeling a bit hard, then sometimes it is.
It's not worth it.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally.
I don't know. It depends on people's intuition, but some things work really easily, and some things take a battle. They can take a long time, but if it's a battle, then sometimes maybe it's not quite the right mix for you. And that goes for everything. Like, we once had a distributor, it took like a year to set it up, and it seemed so hard all the time, but I'd invested so much time in it, and then and it worked for a little while, but then they went bust. That kind of afterwards. I thought,
you had that feeling,
trusted my gut feeling.
Yes.
Whereas the two distributors I now work with in Victoria and New South Wales, it's a very open, honest conversation, and
it's easy.
A different feeling. So I reckon you really got to trust your gut on that stuff, whether it's collaboration or anything.
Yes, definitely. How do you manage motherhood and balancing that with it?
Oh God, so well. I should say up front, I have one child.
Yes.
So Frank, and I have an older stepdaughter, but she's like, her own life and stuff.
Yes.
I feel like it gets easier as you get older, but you do have to be quite. School holidays, you just got to be kind to yourself. Either bring in more stuff if you can. Like, I just know I can't work a full day.
Yes.
And it's probably not so bad now, but a few years ago it was really difficult. And then obviously COVID, but when it was homeschooling stuff. But as a small business, I started, like, I sometimes say, all right, it might be the third school holidays before last term, so everyone's starting to get a little bit worn out. We might go, right, I'm going to work 3 hours. The girls might be working, and so they've got to, they got their jobs, but I might only work 3 hours, and then that's it, Frankie, we go out and do something.
Yes.
And you just got to take, like, my partner doesn't work on the business, so he's got his own job. So if Frankie's home and we still pack from home, like, we've got a plant and a different shed for all the fruit production, but when we're doing the gift box, we pack from a dedicated room here. So it's in Frankie's house. So you just got to balance that.
Yes.
I think you just have to be kind, but you know what? School holidays, what have we got? A week to go.
I know. I think it's longer.
We've had a fantastic school holidays. Don't get me wrong, but I need to get into my business. And I've been there's a lady on Instagram, Suzanne, I can't remember her last name. Anyway, so she just posted something. She's a business coach. She posted something around Christmas time and said, you know what? If you've got kids or if January's your holiday time, do your planning in February. Just take your pressure off.
Yeah.
So
that's good advice, isn't it? Because I feel the same.
Well,
I feel really a lot of pressure because everybody's posting about like what they're doing for the year ahead.
I know.
I can't. I'm like a holding pattern right now.
I started a little bit, and I probably have done more than I've ever done, to be honest. But now I'm like, I've got to finish. I'm like, I just have to. If there's only a week left of school holidays, just got to make the most of it, and then I'll finish it off after that because I just don't have
the capacity.
And sometimes it's actually easier to do things like pack or do things in the business when your kids are home.
Yes,
because you can't sit at desk because then they see that you're
so switched. Yeah, you.
No, it was like, you know what I mean.
Yeah, definitely.
Play, Mum, we've got to go do something.
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway.
Oh, wow.
So you just got to do what you can do.
Yeah,
sounds
like what we're all doing.
I always realise that things are never the same.
Yeah.
So just because you've had a bad school holidays, whatever,
or you can make it better next time.
Doesn't mean the next one's going to be the same. Yeah. Like everything changes as kids grow up and you grow and your business changes. And
it's a hard balance, but isn't it? but working with someone else would be, I couldn't imagine that either. Like no flexibility at all.
Oh, be the worst. I mean, and then they're in childcare the whole time, or out of school care, holiday care and whatever. And I couldn't. I mean, Frankie did go to childcare, when I still worked at the Cancer Council. But I mean, that's why we left. Yeah. It was too much of a juggle.
Yeah, I know you have kids.
Too much of a commute as well. I mean,
yeah.
We loved Melbourne. We had the time of our life, but there's no way I could live in a city anymore now.
Yeah. So what's next for your business this year and moving forward?
Well, look, we really have to build. Okay. I mean, this is the worst time ever in terms, although let's hope an interest rate will come down soon.
Yeah.
But we just need more space. I don't want to overcapitalise. So it's so funny. I don't know whether this manufacturing is a man's world. I'm not. I think it is.
I think it is.
I think it is. And so the tendency is to build these massive sheds and have massive debt, which I just don't want to bar off. Uh-huh. So, people struggle with me because of that. And even like, business association, food business association stuff. I'm like, look, they automatically say, well, you're going to export because there's a lot of, you can get grants.
I know, it's like they jump from that to like that.
Yeah,
and
it's just like
economies of scale.
I know, and it's like, but economy of scale where you have to take out a $5 million loan or whatever.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
I am not interested in that. Yeah. I want to do sustainable. I want to be able to use our produce.
Exactly.
And there's a place for it, but I just don't feel like the business world or the manufacturing world has caught up with that.
I completely agree.
I feel like women do it differently.
They do,
And the infrastructure to support women is just not there. Like even looking at grants, it's always for massive grants. There's nothing for like 50 grand or whatever. I just want to take a small leap.
Yeah.
And, I've got a very good accountant that does work with lots of different food businesses. And he does struggle with me because he works with big businesses like Haig's Chocolate and whatever. But it actually did make it easier once I had cancer to say, look, my view of the world is different, and I need to make a profit and we live off of that profit. Don't get me wrong, but I don't want to go out and get a massive loan. I just am not interested, but I do. So yes, we do need to build. So we're just trying to look at,
as far as processing, that's what you're wanting to expand. Yeah,
we just need more space.
Yes.
And there's more things we could do, but we can just do what we're doing now quicker.
Yeah.
So you do need machinery and stuff like that.
Yeah.
There's only so much you can. We just need a dedicated space and move it out. Some of the things that we're doing in the house out. We just need separation. So I'm hoping I can make that happen this year. But you just don't know. Like business last year was, for online businesses, we came off of COVID, which really was very good for business and grew very quickly. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I'll just dropped it on the ground. But anyway, and then up to about Mother's Day of last year, business was really good, and then it really dropped for a few months.
Right.
And it was a bit of a shock.
Okay.
So online was still okay, but wholesale, like those retail shops, were really struggling. And then, you have the tax man come in at the end of June and say you've got to pay this money, and then businesses dropped because it was based on last year's business. And anyway, so that was pretty tough. So it was rocky, but I feel like if you don't overcapitalize.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you have to go on a tax plan or whatever it might be, payment plan, you can get through. So big on not trying to overcapitalize, but we do need to build.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the next thing for us.
Okay. Great.
And I'll probably need to secure a little bit more fruit, to be honest.
Yeah.
To get to the point where, because, we use everything we grow, so you've got to grow more. Yes. But I don't want a rapid expansion. There's not enough water, so you've got to do it in a way that's sustainable. So, there's always a constant juggle.
There is.
And probably just understanding, like, I'm just really learning things like Christmas gone was such a big period where there's more products we could produce basically to service that end of the year. And planning for that.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, it's exciting.
Yeah, it is exciting. Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't do it if it wasn't exciting.
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
you've really got to love it. Yeah. You're not going to make a lot of, you don't make a lot of money.
Yeah. But it's a lifestyle, isn't it?
But it's got to be your passion. I couldn't go back to an office job now.
Yeah.
I just couldn't do it, even though I was really good at it. I did it for a long time.
Yes.
So, you just got to really love it.
Yeah, I agree.
And then grow your veggie garden on the side, because that's my mental health relief.
Yeah. Oh, great. Well, the best way to keep in contact with you, I think, if you want to have Sue's amazing produce and not miss out, I think when those important time is to sign up to emailing list, follow you on Instagram, and I'll include all the links underneath. But
yeah. I mean, they can sign up through Instagram or Facebook, or it's on our website.
Great.
Really. In terms of, if you want to get in on those gift boxes and stuff, if you want to just follow us on Instagram to see our story, then we'd love you to.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Thank
and your energy and making it happen. We've leading up to this point, our Sue's conversation, it was like I had internet things. I sent her the wrong link. She had a plumber issue.
She had to have
a shower in the middle of the...
Plumber was pumping the septic. Then my dad turned up with the tractor, and I said, I've got to go. Honey's waiting for me to do this. I've just got to go. I'll see you in an hour. So anyway. This is rural life, really. We've done it.
Yeah, exactly. So both of us are using often dodgy internet connections, and we both live a similar distance away from capital cities. And pretty rurally, so but we made it work, and look,
we did,
like we know.
And I need to come and visit your garden.
I know, yes, please.
I love it. Can you post more videos, please?
Definitely. I need to do a walkthrough actually, because we've just freshly mulched everything, and we got like ridiculous amounts of rain. Like I feel embarrassed.
Yeah, see, that's the contrast for us.
Yeah.
I mean, we're pretty much back in drought here.
Well, we have been. I don't think it had officially been declared a drought, but it was. Yeah.
And then now you've had heaps of rain.
Yeah,
which isn't always great, because you get.
Well, I think any fruit that we've had, it's a split, so
it's mouldy, or it gets downy or
exactly,
something.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, thank you for your time, your energy.
Oh, no, thank you.
Luck.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, happy